The next talk is from Fred van Dijk, and the title is Communicating Complexity. Go ahead.
So, this will be something completely different. The original title was Ordering Complexity, where ChatGPT fooled me a little bit. It helped me also with the nice post on PloneConf. It's actually communicating complexity. And I've been, I did a talk last year on neurodiversity, and I also explained why I put this much text on my sheets, because I just like to have all the text there, talk about it. And I've always been jealous of those people who were able to do a presentation with only pictures and the nice and sending the feeling, sketching the things. So I'm going to try this one. I once, in a previous PloneConf, did a lightning talk on improvisation wisdom. So I'm also going to improvise. I have a rough text here and I have the images over there. And I'd like to tell you a story. And it's a story of something that came up in my mind while talking to a customer, and it's just how my brain works, where sometimes I sense I want to explain something to somebody and it doesn't get picked up, and I'm like, oh, but this is just like... And then often it works, sometimes they're completely lost, but I want to try it again. I want to try it again. So, this is a story. And of course it starts with beer. Obvious jokes there, but the other joke, not this beer, it's actually this beer I want to talk about, because the other one was from a flask and this is a draft beer. And this is for me, being a young guy, having a father with a profession, and you wonder what you're going to be. And my father for a long time was cleaning tap installations in restaurants and cafes and bars. And as a young kid I joined him, and then morning early, and you go to bars that are open until 3 a.m. So you get a very groggy bar owner that has to open the door for my father. Then he goes in, machine, he plugs it in, it cleans it up, blah, blah, blah. And he goes to the next one. And, well, groggy bar owners. But I also, sometimes we visited restaurants, Chinese restaurants preferably, because the spicy food, they can sell some beer. And they have these beer taps. So my father came there as well. Whenever I was in there, in this Chinese restaurant, as a small kid, they were already busy. It was bustling. It was not, the restaurant owner was there. The kitchen was rustling with fear. I looked there, I saw for the first time, I showed my colleagues once krupuk, those small tiny tablets of shrimp, and then they put it in hot boiling oil and you get these huge big chips, and you just see as a kid like, so I was amazed. They even offered me half a chicken once because I was rather tall and scrawny already at the time. My father said, nah, we have to continue, so it was cool. So this is, this is my youth memories of being introduced to, as a young kid, to a complete different culture. You live in grew up in a small country in the Netherlands, most famous for its chickens, and you get this new cultural food culture to you for an Asian restaurant. And of course my father knew the restaurant owner, so when we came there was also small talk by the owner, etc. So this is inspired by this youth memory, and I'd like to tell you a small story. So Mr. Peng wants to start a new restaurant. He came into the Netherlands in his 50s, in the 50s or in the 60s somewhere, by advice from a friend. There's stuff to do there, but he noticed there's a lot of Chinese restaurants. The Chinese restaurants are there because of workers came to the port of Rotterdam early 19th century. Of course, they first started to feed their own friends and family and others by having real traditional Chinese food. But then after the Second World War, they found out, hey, those Dutch like food as well. And we have this strange mixture in the Netherlands where we have this a mixture between Chinese, Indonesian and other influences where the Chinese restaurant is really custom tailor-made to the Dutch thing. So Mr. Peng sees that, he gets involved. It's a booming business. The Netherlands is expanding again after the Second World War, and all kinds of new opportunities for new restaurants open. He finds a financer and he can start somewhere close to the city center. He can start a new restaurant. And he wants to, this is something he wants to do. So there's this new area, he gets some money, and he would like to try this. But then, how do you start a restaurant? How do you plan? What's going on there? So, what's going on there? There's a lot of things to consider. You first need the building. Well, he got this huge new flat for people to live in. This first floor is vacant, restaurants, shops, whatever. So he gets this nice building. Okay, cool. What do you need for a restaurant? You need a kitchen. You need a bar. You need the whole dining area, of course, where people can sit. And also very important thing, and we'll get back to it later, you need a takeaway. You can't run a restaurant, and especially a Chinese restaurant in the Netherlands there, you cannot run it alone, you need a takeaway as well. Okay, takeaway. So location in the suburb is fine, he has a lot of parking spots. People also in this time get money for cars, so they love to go by car, go to a fancy restaurant, have some dinner, not pay too much. Okay, what do you need for a restaurant? Kitchen equipment. And you need an interior. And yeah, this is, of course, like I said, also this is foreign culture. So you need to have all these Chinese atmospheric thingies. So this is not just a simple area with chairs, and you need to decorate it. So interior needs to be good. You need utensils. Otherwise, yeah, and that's not where it stops. You need employees because he's a restaurant owner, but he cannot do this himself. He needs a good cook. He needs waiters. He needs a bartender, because there's also the bar area for the beers. And of course, in the beginning, he doesn't have all this space, so the takeaway is actually the bar, and he is just, he needs to have some people there taking the orders, and also give people in boxes. And okay, so planning. What's more? The whole dishes, of course. He has no clue. He learns from friends and others that he has to adopt. He cannot build on the knowledge he has about his food from his own country. No, he has to adapt it to the Dutch Chinese restaurant. So he gets a good cook, fortunately. He has to think about à la carte or menus or takeaways. This Indonesian influence, like I said. Okay. So, all well done. He starts. Well, this is an image from a Chinese restaurant with a Dutch Chinese restaurant with really recognizing things. Like this aquarium is a thing, the chinoise things, it's all a bit darkish, red. This is a typical Dutch Chinese restaurant, maybe in other countries as well. But so he starts the restaurant. So, what can go wrong if you do this? I mean, he has all the stuff, but of course the restaurant starts a bit. Everything looks fine, people come in. But of course, after 2 months, the municipality decides to redecorate the whole parking lot, so they lock off the parking lot for 2 months. Everybody comes by car, that's a problem, they have to park further away, so he starts and it's already a mess. A restaurant is very nice, but you need electricity, you need gas, you need a lot more things there, and this is the starting area. That's really complex. So, all fine and well. And he also knows that everybody you ask wants something different, but in the end he finds out, okay, so he can start the restaurant and things keep moving and it's fine. Of course, like I said, he needs the takeaway. The takeaway is important, and he soon finds out that just having it by the bar. So this is the hatch that opens. If you go there, you go to takeaway, you have the kitchen bustling, you have the bar and the restaurant area separated, and all the food goes through this hatch. Open, you get the stuff, either it's takeaway stuff, so it's like this, or it's well served and it goes to the tables in the dining area where people come in, they want to relax and they want to do other stuff. Okay. So, difference, of course, is if you start serving this at your table, it's totally different from if you serve this. This, you don't have control over. It's a plastic thing, people take it away, they take it home, but you have no influence over the food anymore. So it's quality, it has to be cheap, it has to be good, that's what people expect, it has to be tasty, it has to be the Dutch Chinese and not Chinese or whatever other variant. Okay. So he starts and everything starts well. The waiters, so what happens in the restaurant? People come into the restaurant area, they sit there, they look at the atmosphere, that's nice. Waiter comes, takes an order, first of course drinks. The owner also comes, because the owner is like the face of the restaurant. He's there 7 days a week, They open early afternoon until late. And he creates the atmosphere. He's the guy. But still, the waiters come and take the order. Orders go to the bar. The order gets sit on a paper, whoop, hatch open, goes to the kitchen. And after 10, 15, 20 minutes, stuff comes back. Okay, good. Lots of noising. And what happens then, especially what I remember from this Chinese restaurant experience, it's not like then out of the hatch comes this plate. What actually happens is you get a kind of mini buffet on your table. So you get like the hot plates, and they have these metal trays where you actually get a kind of mini buffet on your table with spots and everything. And as a family, you sit there, me, my father, mother, my sister, and you take a bit of it, you take that on your bottom, and you get. So you order maybe this extra side order, some noodles, some rice, whatever, and you have the mini buffet on your table without everybody walking around in the restaurant. And that's how I learned Chinese. That's how I started. So this is the system. Okay. So sounds like a plan. This is how Chinese restaurants work in the Netherlands. Of course, it's not so easy after all, because, like I said, the owner is always there, the waiters are always there, the kitchen has to be always there. They both have the restaurant area, they have the takeaway, they have all the surroundings, people coming in, coming out, which has to be there. Everything has to work all the time. It's a service. It's not a product you sell and you're done, and then after 4 or 5 years they come back and they say it's broken, I want another one. This is a service economy. You have to be there all the time. Working 7 days a week. And all the groups in the restaurant must work together. The kitchen, the waiters, the owner has to be there, the bartender has to be there, the beer has to be okay. And learning from my father, the problem with beer tap installations is if you don't tap enough beer and the beer stays for too long in the pipes, you will have to clean it almost every week or every 2 weeks. If you have a really good bar and the beer is going by the thousands of liters a week, you have no problem at all, because basically the beer cleans the whole system itself. Besides knowledge. So of course, things go wrong because you have to apply to regulations. So he has all these nice sharp stuff there. An audit team from the food services comes in and said, okay, did you put any dates on that? How long has that been standing here? He gets a fine, he has to improve stuff, he has to start audit things, he has to put labels with dates on when something got put in the fridge all the time. This takes energy. Like I said, all groups have to work together, the external things have to work together. He has a bit of problems with waiters that slack a bit, that start talking. Then of course your people sitting in the restaurant are like, come on, I've been sitting here for half an hour. Yeah, well, sorry, 10 people came in from the takeaway and we have to take care of them as well. Takeaway, restaurant area, people, waiters. You have to schedule those waiters all the time. They come and go. You have to teach them about the menu. So, but again, he gets over it. He starts to learn how to manage this thing. He learns from others. He looks around and, okay, this works. So, kitchen delivers, good taste, good quantity, it's hot enough, all the variables are there. So business is quite good for quite some years. Like I said, some incidents, first in, first out things you need to do with food. It works and he slowly adapts. He makes some small changes, he adjusts, his team works. The thing is, if we look a bit further, then after 4 to 5, 6 years, he needs to do maintenance, real maintenance, because the chairs are completely set through tables. Okay, so but he did that. He did his maintenance. He made sure he made the kitchen renovations. He did other things there, so that works. But the thing is, after 5 to 10 years, the customers slowly start going away, or he notices, hey, why don't you come back with me? It's like, yeah, okay, we've seen those fishes by now in your nice aquarium. And yeah, the atmosphere is nice, but it's Chinese and it's been there. And yeah, there's this nice other Japanese restaurant which is just open, and they do teppanyaki, and they create the food just in front of you. You sit around a large hot plate and they make it, and yeah, we've been there 2 times as well. That's also cool. So yeah, business is slowing down, the dining area is not what it used to be, he noticed, so he needs to do something. So he talks to people, he talks to his cook say Japanese, no way. I know the Indonesian stuff better, I'm actually a cocky, so no. So he has to find other people, and yeah, the customers start asking for dishes or experiences he does not have, so yeah. Dated, so he has to do the makeover. So the makeover, of course, teppanyaki, investments. He has to completely redo his dining area or split it. And yet that takeaway is also taking its toll, so he has a separate takeaway part now with a waiting room where people sit, they can order stuff, wait there, they get a beer if they don't have to drive, or, well, okay, one beer is enough if they get home. So it works, he does a decorator, he decorates things. New dishes, he needs extra cooks because it's not just a team in the kitchen, he now needs extra cooks on other places as well. So he does a complete takeover, or makeover, sorry, no takeover, makeover, and the customers come back. They like it, they see it, new food, new dishes. The owner is still there as a recognizable face, but still, yeah, works. So, was lots of money to invest, but they kind of made it, they didn't go bankrupt. It wasn't an empty restaurant where somebody else comes in and then has to start all over and do it as an Italian restaurant or a Mexican restaurant or whatever restaurant, because I've now focused it on my youth memories of this whole Chinese restaurant where I was like, yeah, my first experience there. Then of course a lot of Asian, sushi, whatever, but this story can go for every restaurant because every restaurant almost has this takeaway dining area and things. So, the end. So let's dissect. So this was a storytelling experiment. Like I said, skeleton, a story. I've written this down over here. I have my images only here. I try to talk to you, only improvisation. And I should have a little bit of faith that I can have an outline. And as somebody said last year or 2 years ago about Fred van Dijk, you put a coin behind his ear and he talks for half an hour. Well, yeah, sort of. This was 20 minutes, I think I managed now. So let's dissect this analogy, because this is a whole total analogy for what we are actually doing. This is running a website, what I just told you for 20 minutes. And the analogies are everywhere. And there's this thing of communication where you say, look, people are mostly have a preference for oral, written or visual communication. But there's also this thing with conceptual communication. And if somebody doesn't grasp something where multiple things are happening at the same time, if you can provide them with an analogy that matches for many things, then they say, ah, yes, it's just like. Of course, that sometimes for me it goes wrong. But this was an analogy I came up with by talking to a customer a few months ago, and I was like, wow. And I could just continue. The small things are everywhere. Of course, the website is the dining area. Or the takeaway, where you don't really control your content, but that's the REST API with the hatch. So, food ingredients, building and the surroundings, that's the hosting environment. The building is the hosting, is the servers, whatever environment, everything you need. The gas, the electricity, the water, we call it nuts in Dutch, which like public services and things, they all have to be there, have to be running, you have to have the licenses, you have the regulations there. Regulations, security, we talked about this morning, cybersecurity. You have to do so many rules and things you have to do, accessibility, food safety. So, the food ingredients have to go into the kitchen, then to the takeaway, being served on the tables by the waiters. Okay, audience participation time, what's the analogy here? The food is the content, which has to be prepared by editors. You have more technical editors, you have less technical editors. So they bring the food to the tables. They have to bring it in time. It has to be synced all the time. Requests come in, requests go out. We do application monitoring, see if everything is done in time. So, where and how do they put the content on the table? Because if they put it just in trays and people just collect it, but they can have it more fancier, present it nicer. So you present the buffet on the table. Let's hope the customers don't make a mess of the dishes on their plate and then still enjoy and appreciate the content that you serve. Well, This is the whole thing of people jumping around in websites and trying to adapt to customers' information. If you eat too much, you're totally full and you have an overload, information overload on websites. The kitchen equipment and the tables, the chairs is the software. Server side in the kitchen, building there. That's our back end. And our front end is at the table with the scenery and the other. The scenery, the Chinese thing you have to do, that's fashion. And that's something we underestimate with doing websites maybe. We're the techies with the stuff, but every 5 to 10 years you have to redo your website. People expect you as an organization to do a complete restyling, have a new corporate identity. Because otherwise they're like, boring, 10 years old. I think they're bankrupt anyway. Like I said, the REST API is the hedge. The suppliers is the internet, the network area. The electricity is the power you need, the service, electricity, gas. You can go on and on and on and on. You need mail servers to send your form data to. If that's not there, things break down. You have other works to do. So yes, we are all, if you want to have a full enterprisey, big, whatever website, you're a restaurant manager. And this is where I think it goes. Also when I'm in the maintenance, you have to do maintenance after a while. But then the complexity of running, but then maintaining, extending and upgrade a large website is just like the complexity of the restaurant. There's so many things happening and you have to do them all at the same time. And many of those things are just there and you don't have under control. You have to change with the times. You have to adhere to regulations. The municipality shuts off your parking lot. Okay, thank you Internet Explorer. Thank you Edge. Thank you Netscape. You have to do. So, a bit of meta. This was a total serendipity because I made up this story with this customer and then I found out, sorry, step one, quick back. Yeah, so the analogy also matches on different levels. Like I said, you have this constant going of serving the food, the content, preparing it, presenting it. That's like the short-term requests, fast response times, throughput, etc. So that's the daily scale. Daily operations, make sure the ingredients are there. Then you have the weekly to monthly planning and management you have to do, which is like personnel schedules, small repairs, fixes, etc. Your supply chain has to be working, and you have these 10-yearly to 10-year changes where you just have to redo the whole restaurant because everything gets broken away. People expect different things. Fashion, you cannot just keep continuing using yarn. You have to go to PNPM. You cannot, Python 3, pip, UV. Those are things that get forced on you because you have a kitchen, but the kitchen equipment is going away. The manufacturer gets new equipment in. So also on time scale of management, this analogy works to point out many different things. And the biggest thing I had with my customer there was, the thing I wanted to communicate is like, we're the integrator, we're the service provider. We don't do these things because we think it's fun to do and because we want to earn a lot of money. Many of these things are imposed upon us. The browser changes, the fashion, the other things. And that's, I think, the takeaway. The takeaway is that, and this is also something, and this is what I meant with communicating complexity. What we're trying to pull off here is doing 6 to 8 to 10 things at the same time. And they have to continue on the daily scale, on the monthly scale, and on the years to 10-year scale. And that's like, oh yeah, it's a website, right? It's easy. No. You run a restaurant. And the fun thing is that this was a storytelling experiment. I told this to the customer, I made it up, and then I found out about his youth memories, the restaurant analogy, and actually there's the Dutch Center for Intangible Cultural Heritages, and this whole Chinese-Dutch restaurant thing is the thing here. It was added there, so you can go to this thing. There's actually a foundation to secure this tradition in the Netherlands. I found out there's actually a movie, Happy Palace, where the Chinese father passes away who runs a restaurant, and the daughter has to take over the restaurant and start it running with a brother which is not too smart and more artsy. So you can also check that one for the analogy. And this was also serendipity. It was just going, like, wow. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Pang really exists, because that's the name of the restaurant owner where I came as a kid, where my father cleaned the beer tap. I even saw him last year when I picked up some food to eat with my mum. He must be in his 70s, and he was still standing behind the bar helping now, I think, his son or his daughter or the team running there. So this is also an homage to really fond memories. That's the place in Barneveld, and that's what Google Maps says nowadays. So I stole some images somewhere because I wasn't really prepared, so some images are copied from the interior photos actually of Rose Garden or from the Intangible Cultural Heritage website where I have some photos, the photos are used. The interior was from an interior apparently from a Chinese restaurant in Dutch village Jeranendorp. There's actually this storytelling with an interactive story at that link there. I'll share the links or post it somewhere else so that you can also hopefully enjoy the analogy again. Thank you.
Now, any questions for Fred?
I did my job. No questions. Analogy served.
Can I place an order?
Takeaway. Now the interesting thing is, so the Chinese really adapt. So here also, if you go to, you also have a lot of Asian restaurants, and it's really interesting. So I visited Sweden many years ago. I went there at lunch and was like, this is not Chinese. I was so indoctrinated by the Dutch-Chinese restaurant tradition that I was like, this is Swedish Chinese.
Thanks, give him one applause.